top, trousers and tie. Yes, it's happening here in Ghana. Maybe your school, you don't see that in your school, but it's happening in Ghana. Ghana is so blessed, eh? Education-wise, that's the sector I know about. Ghana is blessed because we have a competent minister for education. I interviewed a man in Cape Coast, Takrady, who said that when he was in school, he was paying fees, but our brothers from up north were giving scholarships, but they were all Ghanaians. So he's so pleased and happy that the president, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, brought the free senior high school policy so that every part of this country, wherever you are, if you are qualified to enter the secondary school, you go for free. Not years ago, if you wanted to become an engineer and you are not a science student, you couldn't become an engineer. Right here in Ghana, my daughter is at Pentecost University, a pre-engineering student. She was an economics student from Achimota School. Pre-engineering student at the Pentecost University, wanting to become an engineer, right? So this is the opportunity that government has created through the Minister for Education, Honorable Dr. Yawase Duchimo. On the 9th of April, it's his birthday. And when you pray, when you go on your knees, pray for him. These are the people we need as leaders in this country. He is a blessed man, faithful and committed to work. Honorable Dr. Yawase, wherever you are, good morning to you. Good morning to you, Honorable Reverend John Intimfojo, Deputy Minister for Education. Good morning to you, Madam Angela Fran. Good morning to you, Lawyer Jerry. Good morning to you, Sharon. Good morning to you, Auntie Agi. Good morning to you, Mr. Paddy. All directors of education across the 16 regions of this country, student, teachers, wherever you are, I say a good morning to you. So today we're going to talk about inclusive education. We are going to look at children with disabilities. We all desire to be educated. It is said that we have over 240 million children with disabilities across the globe, and they all deserve the best. Teachers who are teaching students, and the student keeps saying, I can't see on the board, and the teacher doesn't understand that the child may have, or doesn't know that the child may have issues with the eye. We used to be caned because we were writing with left. We used to be bullied because we were writing with our left hand. Some of us have hearing problems. But when the teacher speaks and you say you can't hear, you have a knock. Today's teacher is not like that. They've been educated, they've been trained for all this. So we'll discuss persons with disabilities and going to talk about inclusive education. This is happening in Ghana. You know, we have something that we call the tangibles, the things that you can see, and then we have the intangibles. You must understand that a lot going on. The buildings are not what government has done. Several things that are intangible, you can't touch them. And those are the things we want to talk about this morning. I have my guest in studio, Mr. Solomon Natete, who is a lecturer at the West End University. He's been training teachers. In fact, I went to his class, Center for Teacher Development Ghana. I've been a student of that school. I went there to study, and he was my lecturer who taught me so many things that I know about education. And he's right here. He's been trained a lot of teachers and supervises a lot of schools. He's a man full of experience, and he's right here in studio. Good morning to you, Mr. Natete.
Good morning, sir.
It's a blessing having you once again.
Yes.
Well, so on the 9th is Honorable Minister's birthday. If you were to say something about him, what are you going to say?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say good morning to the minister. That's a blessed man. I have always said he's a gift to this nation. And so if on the 9th happens to be the birth date of this great man, I want to say that he's somebody who is selfless, and irrespective of whatever people think about him, I am speaking from my point of view. And I believe that any Ghanaian who is a true Ghanaian will see this man as I see him. He's not in Ghana to do politics, but there's a man who is in Ghana to help Ghana in terms of our education. He cannot do everything within 4 years, within 8 years. But I think that for the 4 years that he's been in charge of Ghana's education, or the 3 years plus that he's been in charge of Ghana's education, he's done a yeoman's job, a great job, and he deserves all the accolades. Let me say that we don't have enough words to give descriptions to this gentleman. And so all we would like to say is that God grants him every desire of his heart. May God bless him so that he will continue to do whatever it is he wants to do for this dear nation of ours. God bless him.
All right. Much. Thank you very much, Mr. Solomon Atete, the Honorable Minister for Education, a blessed man indeed. He had a school in the U.S., Los Angeles, new charter school that is doing so well.
Wow.
And he says that he had over 200 workers, employees that he was paying every month. Wow. And he left all these to come to Ghana. One of the things that I see politicians do is their patience. And sometimes I think that it's not easy being a leader in this country at all. I mean, you have a good heart. They're going to have people that are going to come after you. Yeah. And you need to be strong to be able to become a leader. We've seen a lot of challenges that the education ministry has faced, and he's stood on his feet and has done so well, how he manages. And one thing I have learned from him is his quick, approach to issues. I mean, he doesn't solve problems like you tell him today and he said come tomorrow. He solves problem immediately. As you are speaking about the problem, he's solving it. And one thing I will really applaud him for was his quick response to the media reportage that came out saying that schools were not having food and all that. Within the same period, he has made arrangement for food to be sent to those schools and visited the schools to see the situation. And these are the kind of leaders that we have.
Wow.
Yes, I mean, he reports to work 6:30 a.m. He's there. If you want to see him and he tells you to come at 7 o'clock and you go at 7:01, you miss it because somebody is starting from 7:01. It's just so busy. And I mean, bless God for the wonderful people that surround him as well, who have helped him to get to this level. Honorable Dr. Yao, wherever you are, I want to say a happy birthday in advance. You're a great man. And I'm praying. This is my personal prayer that one day you become a president of this country because you're a great man. You will surely one day become a president. I'll vote for you to become a president of this country. God bless you so much. Mr. Solomon Atete, today we are going to talk about inclusive education. Yeah. And we are focusing on persons with disabilities. Let's look at what inclusive education is. I mean, when we say inclusive education, what are we talking about?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me once again say good morning to our listeners. I think they are also very dear and very important to us. You talk about inclusive education. You are talking about the situation where you ensure learning and access to every learner in the classroom, and this includes those who are disadvantaged. Yeah. So, in fact, if you look at our community, we look at our country, definitely, even around the whole world, we live with people who are disadvantaged one way or the other. And so we cannot say that these ones, because they are disadvantaged, they cannot be in school. And so we have this inclusive system that ensures that all learners have access to quality education, and they must also be in the classroom to study. And so you see that when you get to every school, even within the school, you have people who are disadvantaged. Then when you get to every classroom, then you have people who are disadvantaged. And so when you talk about inclusive education, we are talking about simply ensuring access and learning for every child, including those who are disadvantaged.
Now let's look at disabilities. I mean, like we talk about when we say disability, what are we referring to?
Yeah, when we talk of disability, we are talking about our dear brothers and sisters who, for one or two reasons, cannot do certain things. They have some physical challenges, and so they cannot respond to issues physically as some other people or some of our brothers and sisters can do. These people we are said to be disabled because they cannot do certain things. Some of them can do, but it has to take some sort of support, assistance, and what have you for them to be able to do. And so these are the people we classify as people with disabilities.
Okay, so can you give us descriptions, examples of such people? Does it have to do with the eye, the ear, the nose, the mouth, the hands, whatever? What are you talking about?
Yeah, so we have some of our brothers and sisters, some of our children, some of our learners in our schools who have problems hearing. Some have problems seeing. Some have problems writing. And so all these ones are with us in the school. The issue is that we have two types of schools in Ghana. We have what we call the regular schools, and then we have the special schools. People with disabilities actually are meant for the special schools, or the special schools are meant for people with disabilities. However, there are some of these people with or learners with disabilities whose situations are not so severe, and so situations can permit them to be in our regular schools. And so these ones, though we have the special schools, their situations are not so severe. When the situations become so severe, then it demands that the person is sent to the special schools, like the one at Jowulu, the special school for the deaf. There's one around Achekuju. Yes, we have a whole lot of them. You have the one at in the eastern region, the Krupon and all those things. They are all there. But there are some of these learners whose situations are such that giving a little bit of support, or that kind of support, they can be in the regular schools. And so some are in the regular, and trust me, there are a lot of them in the regular schools. And that is why the need for inclusive education, so that we make sure that these ones are also taken care of in the schools.
Okay, all right. So the question is, you said that those whose situation is not severe can't be in a regular school.
Yeah.
How do you determine the severity of it?
Yes, the determination of the severity of the situation is done by medical experts. Yes, I remember I was teaching in a school. And so one day I went into a class to teach. And there was this boy who almost put his eyes on the book. And even I realized that there were friends who were reading on the board for this gentleman to write. And so I decided to make a follow-up on the issue. So I got to the parents to discuss it. In fact, the problem is that there are some cases where parents are aware that the situation is so severe, but there are parents who do not want the child branded. And so they will do everything possible to get this child into the regular school. And so I made a follow-up to the parents. I met them, we discussed it, and the child was sent to a school around, I hear there's a medical center around Spintex. And in fact, when they went, the report was that the situation was so worse, and so the child had to be taken to South Africa or whatever. And I think they didn't have the means. So I made sure that they took the child to Ekupon. So the child was taken through that kind of assessment. And so after the assessment, they realized that the right place for the child to be was their place.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did everything possible. In fact, the school did very well.
Mm-hmm.
They quickly admitted the gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, the last time I spoke to this gentleman on Facebook, he was in Legon.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So it takes medical experts
Mm-hmm.
to determine whether this one is so severe, this
Mm-hmm.
one is not that severe, and that the child can be in. But from our homes, straight away, because of the issue of branding, a lot of parents take them towards the regular schools.
Let's look at the issue of branding, because you are in a classroom and you have a child who is physically challenged, for example.
Yeah.
Or in a way. Now, you asking this child to be in a classroom with children who don't understand the situation that the child is in and considers that child as a nuisance.
Yeah.
We have to push you, or like you can't read, you can't see, and all those things. Before the child is sent to the classroom, we come back, but before the child is sent, do we have a preparation that we do or make to the entire school to understand that we have brothers and sisters in this school who have this challenge? They are part of that. It wasn't their choice, and that we should have a way of being passionate and considerate, have some kind of compassion towards them. Do we do that? And does it affect the child who is in a classroom, so that the child sitting beside this person with disability may have a certain attitude towards the person, and that affects the child without a disability and also the child with a disability? So the two of them sitting together are having a lot going on in their minds, and they may not even concentrate on in the classroom. Do we do that preparation?
Yes, and it is very important. The fact is that probably years back, those things were not being done. But today, as I speak, it has been part of our training system. Teachers are made to understand some of these things during their trainings. And there's one very unique thing about learners. If you have somebody who is disadvantaged or a disabled or somebody with disability, and you take your time, you take the pain to explain to his or her peers in the classroom or in the school that, this is the situation of this brother or sister. Trust me, these children, they embrace the child holistically, together with these or her challenges and everything. And sometimes, or most often, they are ready to offer this child any form of support.
Okay.
There are cases where some of these children are in wheelchairs, and you can have the situation where a school child or a classmate will volunteer that, when I'm going to school, I'll pass through my brother or my sister's room and then push him to the school. So once that kind of education is given to his or her peers, and they get to understand everything, they give the child every support that the child requires.
Okay, we'll come to the curriculum, the Ghana Education Service curriculum that is being used in our schools that includes this form of system.
Yes.
But before then, I would like to ask the teacher that is standing in front of the class. You are looking at somebody that is being pushed, but you can have people that have issues like you mentioned, the eye, the ear, and everything, things like that. How is the teacher able to determine in a classroom? Sometimes you have a student who will tell you, come home and tell you that when I go to class and the teacher is writing on the board, I can see, or I can see well. Some of them say, when I sit at the back, I can't see. When I sit at the front, I can see. How is the teacher able to know that each of the students in a classroom has issues? And how is the teacher supposed to address all these and ensure that all of them in a classroom are receiving the same form of education, receiving the same of information, that none of the students is ignored? Because you can have a class where the person that is a little bit challenged with their ears or eye or whatever may ask questions, and the teacher is teaching. So you taught us people that do well understand issues when you show them in pictures. People that so you are able to know that I'm going to teach photosynthesis. I need to go and cut some kind of a tree and bring to the classroom, or some leaves and bring to the classroom to explain this to them, and the children seeing it reminds them of what they were taught. do we have a system or the training that helps the teacher in a classroom, so that if you, Mr. Natite, visit a class now, you can go to a teacher and ask them, can you tell me about all the children in the class? Do you know those who have this challenge? And they can tell you?
Yeah, that is good. Actually, if you take the current curriculum, yes, if the one that is used in training teachers at the
teacher training colleges
of education and then the universities.
Yeah.
Yes, it makes provision for all these things, and so the teachers go through this sort of training that gives them at least a fair idea as to how to be able to detect some of these things. As we're talking, you see, when we talk of inclusion, it is not limited to only learners with even this physical disability. When it comes to even intellect, the IQ, the children are not the same.
That's right.
And so that also warrants that kind of inclusive system.
Yeah.
So that in the, like you said, in the course of the teacher's delivery of a lesson, you know that, I have this person whose way of learning is like this, whose way of learning is like this. And so when it comes to my pedagogy or my methodology, I have this method to use so that everybody in the classroom can understand me. So now to your question, you see there are simple ways of detecting these children who have problems one way or the other, either with the eye, the ear, or whatever. And every teacher is aware of some of these things. Sometimes you teach, you're teaching, and then you write something on the board, and every now and then you have a particular child who will want to get closer to the board in order to see what you have written. Yes, this child will do this severally, even if it is your first day of getting to the class, that particular class, and a child does that thing once, twice, 3 times. It is up to you, the facilitator or the teacher, to get to know that there's a problem. And so what you do is that you give maximum attention to this child, and then once you get to know that there's this problem, then you take an action. Sometimes, you see, like I said, there are parents who do not want their children branded. My child has this problem, whatever. And so sometimes it's a bit dicey, but irrespective of whatever the situation is, as a teacher or as a facilitator, it is very important that you do something about it. Either than that, at the end of the day, it is the learner who is suffering. So you can draw the attention of the parents that I can see Kwame, most of you would like to get to the board to see whatever it is that is written. And you as a teacher, once you are sure you have written boldly on the board for every child to be able to read, I think you sense that, there might be an issue with Kwame's eyes. And so you make recommendations to the parents to take Kwame to the hospital to see specialists to find out if there is a problem. And you do same if it is the ear. Sometimes there are children, when they have hearing problems, you can't easily tell, but there are signs. Sometimes they sit in the classroom and they won't face the board directly. Yes. Occasionally you have them trying to give you a particular ear. And
they may be caned or punished for turning on the chair because the teacher doesn't know.
Feels that you're not sitting well. And the teacher tells the child to sit well. Then in about the next few minutes, you find the child tend to sit in the same direction. And sometimes, if you don't know about some of these things, you end up caning the child or whatever. Sometimes you insult. I mean, a whole lot of things are done to these children. And so there is the need for the teachers or facilitators to become patient when they begin to see some of these signs. Some of the children can fidget a lot, but yes, in as much as they do those things in the classroom, we have to be very attentive to whatever the children do so that we can quickly respond to the needs of these children.
All right, Mr. Natite, thank you. All right, so we are live on Facebook at Transformation Agenda Series page. Word Radio GH page, Class 91.3 FM, and also on www.classfmonline.com. You can also get us on YouTube at the Transformation Agenda Series page. We're going to activate the phone lines today a bit early so you can call if you have a child who has certain challenges. Mr. Natite, I want to ask, can't we have a system where we have medical staff visit our schools and have some form of this testing, hearing, sight, because these are not easily detected. Like we said, there's a difference between training someone to work, but when the person is at the work, they may not even do what you tell them to do.
Yeah.
So can't we have a system where we have medical officers visit our schools? Every district has a hospital. Can't parents partner with teachers and the medical officers in every community once in a while, maybe in 3 months and in 4 months or a year, to go to those schools? Maybe yearly, termly will be fine, because every term every year new students are enrolled into all our schools or move to different classrooms, so that if the issue may be developed whilst the child is in class 4, moving to class 5, so that every term this is checked. Can't we do that so that we have medical staff that comes, and maybe if the child needs a lens, you can put it off or put on side. If the child goes to class and having all these difficulties, if the teacher is not able to see it, perhaps the medical officers who come to the school will be able to identify and help. And one of the things that I also want to say is, before you answer the question, is I think parents should stop doing this spirit things. There are people whose children have issues with their eye. They think it's a demon that is trying to plug their eye so that they don't go to school, and they will not send them to the hospital. And you go to a pastor who give you some water to wash your face. I don't say that everything is physical, but I think that we should seek medical attention when it's necessary. When the child is long, you are able to determine the situation of the child. I mean, that early, it's easier solved than when you wait until the child gets to a certain level where the issue is now out of play. But what do you think about this?
It's very, very important. When you get to the private schools, even at the basic level, occasionally you have medical centers that visit them.
Okay.
And
is it an arrangement that is made by the school, or
I think some of these medical centers go there. They go to the schools themselves to discuss issues with the owners of the schools or the heads, and then they agree. So occasionally you have these centers get to the school to do screening for the children. The only thing is that each child would have to pay for whatever screening that is done.
Of course.
I don't know much about what happens at the public schools. But you see, there's one thing happening. There are a lot of children in the public schools whose parents are capable of paying for certain things. But the mentality is that when they find themselves in the public schools,
it's true,
they wouldn't like to spend money to do anything at all. Sometimes even getting books for these children become an issue.
Not even to support government.
Some of these parents are within positions that you have parents in the private sector who do not even have that much, yet they are doing what is expected of them. And so I will encourage parents, those whose children are in the government or the public schools, they shouldn't think that or have that imagination that once my word is in the public school, I don't need to spend money on anything, and that government should provide everything. It's impossible. Successive governments will be doing their best to make sure that those children or our children at the public schools become comfortable. But trust me, it is not possible for government to do everything for every child. So parents must take it up upon themselves so that when medical centers get to their schools, and they request that children pay some amount of. Sometimes it's not so much. Sometimes you pay, I think, 20 cedis, and then they do screening for even blood group and eye and everything. Sometimes you pay 20, 30 cedis and they conduct some of these screenings for you. Parents should make sure they see those exercises as very important exercises, because if your child has a certain degree of what challenge and you are not aware of it, academically it affects the child. And you might not know. Sometimes the children might not tell you. If you are fortunate and the situation is such that you have the child scratching the eyes all the time, you can. But even there are parents who see those things and they don't care about it. They take it as a normal thing, but it is not normal. And like you said, there are some too who are so spiritually inclined that they see some of these things, and the next action they take is, then let's go and see the pastor. The pastor cannot be everything, and no pastor is God. The parent must understand these things. And so one situation demands that you go to the hospital. Make sure you do that. You can have the spiritual backing as a backup to whatever it is you are doing. However, it's very, very important. Sometimes you go, they give you water, go and wash the face of the eyes, go and wash the eyes of the child or whatever. Some of these things do not work. They don't help us.
All right, thank you very much.
Parents must understand these things.
Mr. Natete, God bless you. Ministry of Health, I think should also contribute to the success of this particular issue, because they control the health sector. And so I think that they should also think of supporting the students to check out. Seriously, we have a portfolio of every single child in this country. By the time they get up there, we won't have struggles. Every child is identified. You go to a school, they go into the system, the internet, or they go into a database, and everything about you from crèche to university is there. Your health issues, everything is put there. So when I want to find out about me, I go to a school and they want to find out about me, my health and whatever information. I wouldn't need to fill any form, because the school can get those information access from a data that has been stored. Maybe a software that is developed for the schools to do all this. I think that would be that. But the Ministry of Health should be able to support.
Exactly, they should do that. We should come to a point where probably if we have a cluster of schools, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 within a particular jurisdiction, and this should include both public and private schools. At least we should have a small center where that is not too far from these schools, where the children could be taken to, or occasionally the experts over there or the specialists who could walk to some of these schools and have discussions or interactions with the schools, so that they help to identify some of these learners who have these problems, so we can give the necessary support to these children.
All right, thank you very much.
If the Ministry of Health is listening, I think they need to collaborate with the Ministry of Education so that something can be done about it.
Thank you very much. You mentioned the idea of parents whose children are in a public school who leave everything, and especially when they hear that it's free. I watched a video somewhere, and I saw a woman who said that his child was not being fed well, and this is what she said. She said she was home when the child came back from school, and the child had become flat. And I just as I watched the video, I asked myself, you have a child who is in school, and your child came home and you saw that your child was flat. This can't be possible. What sort of parents are you? You send your child to a boarding school, you don't visit the child, you don't support the child, because we all went to the secondary school. We eat at the dining hall, but you need to support your child. You don't tell your child, go to school and depend only on the food at school. At a certain age in our lives, we eat. So if the child gets to that point and you don't feed the child well, the child doesn't get what he wants. And all this idea about the food is not nutritious and all that, it is not true. Because at a certain point, you eat a lot. So if the child eats in the morning, midday, he may want to take snack or something, and you don't have. And if you say that the school should provide all this thing, you, the parent, you have your child come home sick. It is not because the child is not being fed right. It is because you are not supporting. You think the thing is free, so it should be free. Because I've had students who go to school and their parents never visit till they finish school. Never visits. Visiting time, the parent is home. Your child will come home flat because you don't visit. We cook during visiting days to go and give our children to have it.
Yeah.
You don't cook to send to your child. Your child will come home flat. It's not that they are not eating, no, they eat. But we must know that at a certain age in the life of the child, they eat and they want to eat again. So the idea that because government said it's free, we should just sit back and watch. And one argument that I always listen to is where somebody will say that we want to pay, like parents, like let's look at free senior high school where parents say we want to pay. If you want to pay now, and there's your child goes to a school and there's food shortage, buy 2 bags of rice and go and donate to the school. You see, when we begin to politicize this kind of feeding thing, and it keeps coming up, and we say that we want to pay. If you want to pay, have you gone to the school? Even PTA parents supports that schools. Most parents don't pay, even though their word is there. They will not pay. There are parents who will not pay the toiletries. They will not give soap and all these things. They will not pay because they said it is free. So I believe that point you made is very important. If you're a parent, you are listening to us. This thing about because government said it's free, book won't talk. That thing is wrong. You have to buy books for your child. The government is saying free, support it. You must also play your role as a parent. You don't leave everything on government and say government should do everything. We are not being fair. I think we are not being fair.
Actually, I want to say that when it comes to some of these issues, we should take away the political lens and deal with the issues the way it should be dealt with. In fact, irrespective of whatever government we have in power, be it MPP, NDC, or whatever, these challenges will still exist. And so when we're talking about them, let us not talk about them using the political lens, but let us criticize constructively. And much as we are criticizing, we try to suggest solutions to the problem.
That's right.
Yes, because it is a national issue. And they will continue to exist. I don't think there's going to be, for now, there's going to be any government that will be in power, and feeding of these children will become so excellent. I don't know how people understand what I'm saying, but that is my understanding. And so there's a need for parents to, give backup foods to their children. We're not saying that, it is good that children go to school and there are issues with feeding and so we are happy and whatever.
No.
What we are saying is that we should try to complement the effort of governments. And we are still at the beginning stages of this free senior high school program and whatever. And with time, be it the NDC, the MPP government, the NDC government, we will all work very hard to make sure that a day will come where we will get to a point where things will be normalized as compared to the situation in which we find ourselves now. And so parents must make sure that they give all the needed support to government in order to make sure that their children become comfortable at school. Now, one other thing is that for the fact that senior high school has become free does not mean that even if I am not capable of meeting certain demands, I should push my word there. There are various training centers around us, so that you look at proximity with regard to your financial background, so that if you think that if you discuss with your warden, you feel that the child should go to this training center which is close to where I live, you just take the child there, rather than everybody having this imagination that it is free, so let us all work there, and for that matter we push the children there, and when it comes to we supporting these our own children, then we have issues. Another thing government must do, and I want to take this opportunity to appeal to the minister. If you get to around Santor, Katamanso, to the stretch that stretches to around Apollonia, in fact, you don't have any senior high school around these communities. And so the children living there automatically must attend boarding schools.
Okay.
And it is one of the reasons why feeding the children is becoming a bit difficult. Apart from that, even if their children are day students within those communities, they have to travel to Tema, Ashaiman. In Ashaiman, we have only Ashasek, and then there's one technical school. And the transportation. And so you see that a parent whose ward goes to school, who lives there, and has a ward being a day student, will have to spend around 50, 60 cedis on one child a day before the child goes to school and come. But if we can ensure, I know government is doing well, a certain government started, a certain government is continuing, and another government that will come will still have to continue. We should make sure we put senior high schools at the doorsteps of our children, so that you can just wake up in the morning, eat some banku in the house in the morning, and then walk to the school.
All right, thank you very much. So we that was just by the way.
Yeah.
But let's look at so the Bunkatamanso Apollonia area.
Yeah.
I'm sure that surely there should be a secondary school there, and I'm sure the government may have a plan to put one there.
Then it should be swift, because it's worrying.
We pray for the swiftness. But let's look at inclusive education. What we're discussing this morning. Finally, I'm looking at a parent at home and the teacher in a classroom. I want you to look at the two sides. How are we going to ensure that the parent knows and identifies ABCD, and then the school also identify ABCD, and how is the teacher able to put all the children in the same classroom and ensure that all of them, I want you to
have access to good learning?
Yes, please.
Yes, the curriculum makes provision for methodologies or pedagogies that you can rely on to teach when it comes to inclusive education. And one of the method is that's what we call differentiation.
Okay.
You have about 30 children in the classroom you are teaching. As a teacher or a facilitator, you have no business assuming that all the children you are teaching, the 30 children seated before you, are all the same. We have different types of learners in the classroom in terms of even how they learn. Apart from this issue of disabilities and whatever, even the way the children learn. And then I've ever mentioned that here, that we have some children who are kinesthetic learners, some are visual learners, some are audio learners, and some are read-write learners. And so if you go to stand in the classroom and your method of teaching does not consider this differentiation, and all you do is to go to stand before the children and you talk. If you have 30 children and it is only 10 who are audio learners, then what you are doing is that on that particular or at that particular period, you are teaching only 10 students. These things have happened over the years, and innocent learners were keen for it when we're in school. A teacher wouldn't understand why I will make all the noise and you cannot understand anything. But sometimes it is the method of teaching. And so as a teacher, it is good to observe differentiation when you are teaching. Yes. When you talk of differentiation as a teacher, you have that understanding that all the children I'm teaching are not the same. And so I have to classify them based on their need, based on the pace at which they learn. If you do this, you are sure that by the time you spend about 20-30 minutes facilitating a particular class, all your learners will benefit from your lesson.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Tete. Now let's look at the curriculum that is being used that has this inclusive education, like you mentioned, differentiation considered. Do we apply everything there, and are we making sure that the products that are leaving our schools having these challenges are satisfied?
It is expected. I am saying expected because I have not had the opportunity of visiting all schools.
Okay.
And so I can't say for a fact that all teachers are practicing differentiation or all teachers are practicing what we call scaffolding. I can't speak to that. But then what I can say is that it is expected that every teacher who has been through one training or the other understands that, or every teacher who is using the current curriculum understands what these pedagogies, that is differentiation, scaffolding, and what have you. So it is expected that every teacher is able to administer these methodologies in our classroom. If you're a teacher and you are not doing it, then it means that you are not helping the system.
Can I say that perhaps the ban of corporal punishment using canes in the classrooms, because majority of teachers that were caning students was based on some of these challenges that they have no understanding of. Do you think that it was good? Because I've also seen people say that not using canes in school is making the students stubborn and all that.
And it is not true.
Yes. Do you think that it was important and it was very good that we took away the caning because of some of the disability issues that teachers were not aware of, and that made them, for example, a child that has ear problem, turning himself or herself, and a teacher go to cane the child for turning, thinking that maybe he was going to speak to a colleague, that is why he turned and all of that?
Yes, taking away the cane from you see.
Before you continue, let me activate the phone lines. We just have 3 minutes to get out of here. Okay. 0302 20 80 80 0302 20 80 80. Call us if you have something to tell us. Call us.
Right. Yes, the cane is still in our schools.
Okay.
But then the cane should not be in the classroom.
Okay.
I don't know whether we're getting the differences. Yes, because there's this provision that the headmaster is the only one that has the right to administer caning. And that is not based on academic issues or whatever, unless it has to do with some deviant behavior or something. But then I would say that it is very important and it is very good that the cane is not in the classroom, because the cane does not add to any academic or IQ enhancement. Yes, people do not understand these things. Yes, one day I went training some facilitators, a whole lot of them, and I was telling them about the fact that there's no need for the cane in the classroom, and they were not comfortable with it. So I told them, well, somebody told me, say, but sometimes when you cane their children, they are able to do what you expect them to do. I told them, okay, if it's about the cane, then when you get to the classroom, just put exercise on the board, then cane everybody and ask them to do it. Since you believe that it is the cane that will performs the magic, just cane them and ask them to do or complete the exercise for you. It's not about the cane. One, it's about we enhancing discipline in our schools, and discipline should start from the home. We should have a system that does not joke with discipline. And when I talk of discipline, I am not talking about meeting corporal punishment or on our visiting corporal punishment on our learners. But discipline is a systematic training that leads to self-control. We should get the children to understand that this thing when I do is wrong. But it looks as if we're not having patience. We want to see immediate result with whatever it is we do in this country. And that is why people think that, taking the cane out of the classroom is making the children become wayward, naughty, or whatever. And I don't see it like that. We can still have a system where the cane is not in the classroom, yet our learners are becoming very responsible. I've always used our colleagues in the external world as examples. They don't have cane in their classrooms, yet their children are performing very well academically. And so who says that it is the cane that is doing the trick? You talk about these things and somebody tells you the Bible says what? Spare the rod and spoil the child. The Bible is with the whites as well. And so why are they not caning the children, yet they are able to put in place a system that is able to guide the children to behave very well. Sometimes we watch the way their children behave on television or whatever, and we think that they are irresponsible. They are much responsible. If you look at the way they do their things over there, their children are much responsible. So what I want us to understand in our schools is that we can still get our children to get better without the kid. But because we have always used only one method of delivering our lessons in the classroom, we tend to leave out some of the children unattended to. And in the midst of their frustrations and whatever, then they do things that we think that are deviant behaviors. But if you put all children together, you're observing differentiation, you're observing scaffolding in the delivery of your lesson. Come on, we'll get the children to behave responsibly, and our educational system is going to get better.
Your final words to parents, to a teacher who is in a classroom having children with disabilities and all that. What would you say?
Yes, my word to parents is this. Those who think that branding their children will lead to people not neglecting them or whatever, should just take that mentality out of mind. If the children have particular problems, they should inform the school so that they can come together with the school to give assistance to these children. And the teachers must be a bit of tolerant in our schools. They should tolerate whatever behaviors the children have or come out with. And then it's only when they see these things that they can have time to address them. But in the classroom, if we are teaching or we are facilitating our lessons, let's make sure that we have in mind that we are practicing inclusive education and that every child has the right to have access to good learning. And so the method we use or the activities we expose our children to in the classroom on daily basis should ensure that the needs of all these children are met.
Very much. This has been the Transformation Agenda Series on Education, sponsored by the Ministry of Education. I've been here with Mr. Solomon Atete, who's a lecturer at West End University and also a lecturer at the Center for Teacher Development Ghana. He's been training teachers and supervising schools. We've been talking about persons with disabilities. We've talked about inclusive education. We'll continue this series and bring medical doctors and psychologists here to also tell us they are part of this topic. Then we'll get parents who have children with these challenges and how they solved it, how they got to know. Is it that a teacher told them? Is it that a doctor told them? What did they do? But there are a lot of children that are suffering whose parents are ignorant. And that's why we subscribe that Ministry of Health should not wait for us to call them, but they should go to the schools and ensure that their role is played there as well. They have to ensure that we are healthy in this country. And if a child has disability and you don't solve it in that early age, it's going to grow up and it becomes something that you have to deal with. Perhaps the person might become a doctor, a lawyer, a pharmacist or something because of the challenges that they have. We didn't see early to prevent. We're going to have challenges with these children. We're going to deprive this country of the blessings that the Lord has given us. I want to say a big thank you to all of you who listen to us from each of the regions in this country on Facebook, our social media pages. I want to say God bless you. We will see you again next week, tonight 8 p.m. on GTV. I'm going to show you a documentary you must watch. God bless you. I am Abraham Edu, and I'm going to see you next week. Take care of yourself and go to church tomorrow. Bye.